Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today we are covering the topic of homelessness. It's been on the rise for the last 2 years, and I think a part of it is due to the pandemic. Here you're going to hear people's stories as to how they ended up homeless.
I had my own room, own bathroom, and we were moving. We were moving in November of 2022. So our lease was up for our apartment that we were currently at. So we were moving to another apartment. So before my mom could sign the new lease for the new apartment, she was hospitalized, and that's when she had passed, when she had passed. And I was living with my mom, like most kids, most young adults. Like, I was living with my mom. So when she died, and obviously, like, I couldn't afford a 2-bedroom 2-bath apartment, and I couldn't take on the responsibility. I was then left in a situation where I had nowhere to go. I don't have family outside of my mom. Like, me and my mom, like, we were our only family. So when it came to figuring out where I was gonna live when she had passed, I was homeless. I was put in a homeless situation overnight. Like, over fucking night. Like, I was excited to move in to my new place. I was ready to, decorate. And just like that, I was homeless over fucking night. And I never thought it was going to be me. I never thought I was going to be in that situation until I was.
It's been quite a ride. I've failed many times. I've moved out here multiple times. I've had multiple attempts that never saw success. This time around, things were going okay. I had a job, and life just happened. I wasn't making as much money anymore, and that's when things started to just fall apart. I got into a really bad accident. My car was totaled. At the time, I had no insurance because I couldn't afford it. And I was stuck renting cars, which was so expensive. It literally took all of my earnings. On top of that, I was paying rent. And on top of that, I had all my other bills. It came to the point where I couldn't even afford to pay rent anymore. And I told my roommate, which, if you guys want to know more about that roommate situation, I can do a story time on that. Just let me know. And he was just really not nice about the situation. I kept going for as long as I could until I had no funds. At this point, I was just working to have a vehicle. Jumping into my family, yes, I have family. It's not as easy. I can't just go and bombard somebody's family. People have kids, people are married. I can't just go and disturb their household. As far as my parents go, my dad is lost. He's in nobody's lives. My mother, she's around. We're not on speaking terms. A lot of things happened, a lot of hurtful things, and I had to walk away from my family, my own mother. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. It was the only way that I could escape a mental prison, and it was the only way that I can grow and become the man that I'm becoming. Just because you have family members doesn't mean they're good for you. You're either gonna find a solution or you're gonna stay stuck forever. So what did I do? I went and found a solution, and I left and removed myself from toxic relationships. I'm not gonna get on here and bash any of my family members. I love them. I don't want anybody bashing them. I really wish them well. I pray for them, and I love them. During that time that the roommate situation in the room happened and everything, my cousin offered to help me, and he did. He's an amazing person. He's dealing with a lot himself, and he still extended help to me. I will never, ever stop telling him how much I appreciate him. Things started to get better. So it was time to, go out on my own again. Then suddenly things crashed again. My car started having all these problems. I had to buy a used car because that's all I could afford after my car was totaled. So it was a car to just get me around, but it came with its issues. So gotta add those expenses now into what I already have, trying to get out of the mess that was created. The rising cost of living, everything was just getting so expensive. It came to the point that I was getting behind on all of my bills. I have storages that I was losing. I was one day away from auction, and I found a way to come up with the money so I didn't lose all my personal items. My car almost got repossessed. My bank account got shut. I was on my last resort, and while I had income, it wasn't enough. I really don't like asking for help, and I was always taught that you should never cry, you should never be vulnerable, be open, until I grew up and learned that that's repression, and that's what makes things worse. I am a college graduate. I have a bachelor's degree. For a lot of you in the comments, like, go to school, I'm an educated man. Jobs are not as easy to get anymore, and the jobs that you can get are so low paying. With the cost of living, it's hard to afford everything. Millions of people are dealing with the same situation that I am. Everybody that I know is struggling, and they're one paycheck away from my situation. And while I had a roof over my head, I wasn't paying any of my other bills. I had to make the difficult decision to live in my car. I struggled with it. I was embarrassed. I tried to hide it. I tried to run from the inevitable for too long. I came to the point where I was like, Ricky, if you do not do this, you're gonna lose your vehicle, which you're not gonna be able to make money, and it's gonna be worse. You're gonna end up on the street. I put my dog first, and I had to move in my car. I asked God for guidance, and He gave me it. I got some essentials to help me live in my car. I got everything that I need, and that's that.
Now, ever since I moved down to the Bay Area, I have noticed an immense disdain for homeless people. I remember one day I was walking to the train station to catch the train somewhere, and I saw some graffiti that said, "Fuck the homeless." And I was just like, what is up with y'all? I go to an open mic night, stand-up comedians making homeless jokes. I can't even ride the motherfucking train without somebody making fun of homeless people. Like, what the hell? And I already know a lot of people don't realize that I'm actually fucking homeless when they meet me any fucking way. And that's mainly because I look good and I smell good. And I mean, hey, and that's really only because I managed to get into a halfway house by the grace of fucking God. Before I did, I was living out of a tent in Sebastopol, and before that, I was in a fucking hotel room struggling to make rent every goddamn day. Anyway, right now, I just feel the need to get on here and just tell a very descriptive story of why I'm homeless in the first place. I'm originally from Montgomery, Alabama, but ever since I was a small child, I've always had the dream of being an artist. However, if you even live in Montgomery, Alabama, you know Montgomery, Alabama is not the place for creative people. It is also most definitely not the place for queer people either. So not only was I an artist who had absolutely no fucking motivation to create my art the way I was supposed to, the way God intended, I also had to deal with queer-phobic bullshit on a day-to-day basis. Not only from my friends and family, but from random fucking strangers I never even fucking met. I was also painfully in and out of these shitty-ass jobs that I would always end up quitting because I never felt comfortable, or some stupid bullshit would happen, or they just didn't pay enough, or they depressed the fuck out of me. But it was like I was going through this endless fucking cycle of hardship and pain for fucking nothing. And I'd already had a spiritual awakening before the fall of my life happened, but when it was time for the rise, the fall had to happen. And when the fall happened, I got really, really, really deep into witchcraft. But when I got deep into witchcraft and I was trying to pray for an outlet, my money dried up bad. I could not afford to pay bills in my apartment no more. It was like I was trying and I was trying and I was trying, but it just wasn't happening. So I had to go. I had to move in with family for some time. And at the beginning of this year, I told myself I was going to move to California. I wasn't going to deal with this bullshit no more. So at the beginning of this year, I became a heavy prayer warrior. I started praying 3 times a motherfucking day. 3 different rituals every single day. And I still can't believe how much shit I managed to manifest in my life doing that shit. Hell, I found out I was supposed to move to California back in October 2023. I didn't even completely believe in that shit until February 2024 when I got the job that drove me to come here in the first place. So baby, I tell y'all, as soon as I got that job, I was like, bitch, I will never go a single fucking day in my life without praying. Shit, at least once. And ever since then, every single time I almost always get a reading about something that I'm trying to get. For example, when I was trying to figure out where I needed to go to move out of my auntie's house, the spirit team told me that I was probably going to have to end up living out of a hotel. And I did. A month before I left Montgomery, I ended up booking an extended stay, which was also the same day that I booked my flight. When I flew to Cali, I had a room already booked. It wasn't an extended stay, but I was living out of a hotel for a while. And as soon as I got here, I started trying to get myself into social services. But it took a long ass month to actually get into those services. And that's how I ended up in a tent in Sebastopol. But after a week in Sebastopol, hell, I ended up getting into a halfway house. And that's where I am now. What I forgot to mention throughout that whole ass explanation is that if my family weren't so abusive in the first goddamn place, I probably would have fucking stayed in Montgomery. I was actually putting myself through so much distress and turmoil while I was in Montgomery because I didn't want to go back to live with my mama. I was fighting for my life to keep that apartment just because of the fact that I did not want to live with my mother. Because I knew before I ever considered living with my auntie that if I failed, I was going to have to live with my mother. And once I started living with my auntie, she started to plan on putting me out. And I knew if I failed from getting away from her, I was still going to have to go back and live with my mother. And hint, my mom was abusive. But now that I'm in Cali and I see how artistic and creative everybody is and how nobody gives a shit about you being gay, trans, straight, whatever the fuck you want to be, bitch, I'm finna be a goddamn artist. I just don't like how people make it seem like becoming homeless is a choice. They choose to stereotype all homeless people because they see some random crazy homeless person on the bus or something. Baby, even when it comes to homeless people like that, you gotta realize a lot of these people are mentally ill. But not only are you being prejudiced against houseless people, but you're also being ableist. Like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all? And then on top of that, I'm absolutely fucking tired of people trying to convince me to get a corporate job. Bitch, I was going through living hell working corporate jobs. A man in my phone today asked me, do you want to work at Target? First of all, bitch, do I look like I'd ever work at a fucking Target? Second of all, if I was just gonna move to California just to work at a fucking Target, I should have just stayed my black ass in Alabama. What the hell? Y'all just gotta stop being so goddamn restrictive and start being more fucking open-minded. Because the world is not black and white, and not everything revolves around you and your fucking privilege. That's all I gotta say, baby. I'm here to get my life together, but I'm going to do it in the way I want to. I'm here to turn my family's lineage around. A whole 180. Not a 360. 180. I'm here to change my family's legacy, and I will not be doing that by working at a goddamn McDonald's. That is all I had to say. Hope y'all enjoyed the story.